I'm eating iconic Canadian foods for 20 days straight, and day one, I had to start with our national dish, poutine. Or should I say, poutine. Poutine is a dish of humble origins in small-town Quebec, but is now popular across the country. Today, I'm highlighting Nom Nom Nom, a street stand where one Quebecois man named Mark does one dish, poutine. It's time for the taste test. 3 ingredients: crispy fries, fresh cheese curds, smothered in that hot, beautiful gravy for under 10 bucks. I'm salivating. Oh man, just look at that. Gravy at the bottom. Salty, savory, comforting. So I asked about the curds and he just gave me a bag to try. Locally made near Kingston, freshly delivered to him every single week. Does not get better than that outside of Quebec. Beautiful. I could just eat this whole bag of curds. These cheese curds are so fresh, they might as well be mooing. I'll see you tomorrow for day 2. What a beauty. I'm eating iconic Canadian foods for 20 days straight, and day 2 is the Montreal bagel. Sesame, poppy, and everything. Today, I'm highlighting the Bagel House, open 24/7 since the 90s when it was started by bakers that once worked at my favorite bagel shop in the world, Saint-Viateur in Montreal. Unlike a New York bagel, you can eat these guys on their own. Little sweetness from the honey inside the dough. It's boiled in that honey water. And everything bagel, so good on its own. Tastes just like a good dense pastry. I'm somehow reminded of the poppy seed lemon loaf, but this is my favorite way to eat the Montreal bagel. Capers, cream cheese, red onion, and lox. Canadian salmon on a Montreal bagel, tang of the cream cheese, the sharpness of the capers and the onions. There's nothing I would change about it.
Turkey breakfast sandwich. I would happily get out of bed for this.
Bag secured. I'm trying iconic Canadian foods for 20 days straight. Day 3 is ketchup chips and all dressed chips. For both, I went with smaller regional Canadian brands. Let's start with the ketchup chips. Humble from Guelph, Ontario. Covered Bridge from New Brunswick. Nice thickness, uneven amount of powder on both sides. Thin, crispy. It's not really very tangy or bright or tomatoey. Actually quite savory. Clean taste, but it's not really making me want to eat the whole bag right away. Definitely thicker. Powder's like an orange. Much more textured. More of that sweet tomato flavor. This gives sweet barbecue with the kick of vinegar. Gotta go with the Covered Bridge. It's time for the all dressed. So all dressed is basically a mashup of different chip flavors. Ketchup, barbecue, sour cream and onion, and salt and vinegar. West Coast, East Coast. Looks like the Covered Bridge ketchup chip. I see why they're called hard bite. I like the flavor that it has. It's just a bit muted. Color is kind of uneven. By far has the most flavor. I get salt and vinegar first, sour cream, tang. Covered Bridge is my winner. Toronto's down to one spot that serves Indigenous food. I'm eating iconic Canadian foods for 20 days straight, and day 4 is Indigenous food. I want to note that Indigenous people and food have existed on this land long before it was called Canada. But I'm making this episode because too often, Indigenous cuisine is underrepresented, excluded, and forgotten by Canadian food media. Today I'm highlighting Tea and Bannock, Toronto's last remaining spot for Indigenous cuisine. To be clear, I would have preferred highlighting an Indigenous-owned spot, as they are not, but unfortunately, I don't think there's a single option left within a 2-hour drive. First up is the Bannock. Bannock is a staple bread found in Indigenous communities across North America, baked fresh, in-house, every day, and has some raisins. Beautiful crust. It's so satisfying. We got some wild blueberry jam. Okay, got a lot on there. It's like tasting all the different notes of a blueberry. Really, really good. This is their fully loaded bison burger, and it's on their fry bread, which is when they deep fried their Bannock. Very saucy. Looks and tastes mostly like beef. Favorite part is probably the fry bread. Pretty ideal burger bun. Doesn't get soggy on the inside. Outside gives the whole burger a nice bite to it.
I got the fry bread taco with meat chili. Such a pillowy, good dough. Really like the flavor of the meat chili. It's kind of like a spaghetti sauce.
I'll see you tomorrow for day 5. I'm eating iconic Canadian foods for 20 days straight, and for day 5, we're doing the Nanaimo bar. Nanaimo bars are named after Nanaimo, BC. It's a classic West Coast recipe that you'll find at bakeries across Canada. Top layer is a smooth chocolate ganache. In the middle, you have sweet custard icing, and at the very bottom is a textured layer with coconut. I got this from Dough Bake Shop, a family-run bakery that's been in Toronto's East End for 16 years. The first bite. I'm not a big Nanaimo bar guy. They can be very, very, very sweet, but this, perfectly balanced. You taste all 3 layers. I like how much coconut there is in this one. Maybe the middle layer could be a little bit creamier. Maybe the bottom could have a little bit more of a crumb. Overall, the ganache is smooth and everything comes together really nicely. I like it. I'll see you tomorrow for day 6. I'm eating iconic Canadian food for 20 days straight, and day 6 is Hawaiian pizza. That's right, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada. A Greek guy in Chatham, Ontario in the 1960s invented Hawaiian pizza inspired by Chinese sweet and sour chicken recipes. Just sauce, cheese, pineapple, and ham, bacon, or both. I got this from Fresca, one of Toronto's legendary Vietnamese-owned pizzerias that keeps things simple, affordable, and delicious. Beautiful on the back, quite thin, foldable. Pineapple belongs on pizza. It's the savoriness of the cheese, of the ham, and then the brightness from the sauce and the pineapple. Such a nice contrast of flavors. Creamy garlic dip. I'm so excited. This creamy garlic's more vinegary, so when you add it to the pineapple, it's this bright, acidic, sour punch. Garlic herb oil. Totally unique to Toronto. With the oil, it's way more savory. I'll see you tomorrow for day 7. I'm trying iconic Canadian foods for 20 days straight, and day 7 are butter tarts. An iconic dessert in English-speaking Canada and is especially the pride of Southern Ontario. I got these from Banoy, a Toronto bakery that hides in plain sight and according to many makes the best butter tart in the world. Oh my god. This is my kind of butter tart. Rustic, flaky crust. I personally love butter tarts with raisins or pecans. If your filling is this good, you probably don't need to add anything. Runny and thick. It's almost like a dark maple syrup. A little bit of a brulee vibe. There's a bite to the top. The touch of the Malden salt on top, perfect. Absolutely one of the best butter tarts I've ever had in my life. I'll see you tomorrow for day 8. Look at this Canadian. I'm tired of people saying Canadian Chinese cuisine is fake Chinese. I'm on day 8 of eating iconic Canadian foods, and I went to Peking Express, serving Toronto Canadian Chinese classics since the 80s. I had to start with ginger beef, invented by the Chinese community in Calgary, with the ingredients available to them and with a desire to attract non-Chinese customers. This one lost its crisp, but the beef was tender and the sweet ginger sticky sauce hits. The chicken balls here are loaded with chicken, and you either love or hate the ketchup-forward sweet and sour sauce. But my favorite was the Su Gai, a little-known Canadian Chinese dish where a battered and fried chicken cutlet is topped with nuts and drizzled with a soy gravy. Great crunch and comforting flavor alongside either the smoky egg fried rice or the chow mein laced with a super garlicky cornstarch sauce and veggies with a nice snap. See you tomorrow for day 9. I ate Newfoundland's cuisine for the first time ever today on day 9 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods. We went to Matty Matheson's newish restaurant Bar Clams, his love letter to Canada's East Coast, and the only spot in Toronto serving Newfie classics like Jig's Dinner, the province's cherished homestyle dish named after a comic character and consisting of boiled beef and root vegetables. Boiled may not be my preferred cook on brisket, but it was well executed here, seasoned well with savory spices, and livened up with a side of zippy sweet mustard pickles. We also tried the Newfoundland fries, with a light beef gravy, dressing, which is similar to Thanksgiving stuffing, and here melty mozzarella. It didn't have the savory or herbaceous depth I was expecting, but the beef tallow fries are delicious, and the concept is genius. Our favorite dishes weren't specific to Newfoundland, but broadly Atlantic Canada specialties like the mixed seafood cocktail and molasses bread, served with a salted molasses butter. I'll see you tomorrow for day 10. Toronto loves Jamaican patties so much we once went to war over them. Let me explain. Today is day 10 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, and we're at Crumbs, a one-man operation in Kensington Market, the site of Toronto's so-called patty wars in the 1980s. At the time, Canadian law classified a patty as hamburger meat, and we're going to find Jamaican businesses for calling their pastries patties as well. The community fought back and a compromise was reached. They could be called Jamaican patties. Now, a classic beef patty is not a Canadian food, but specific to Toronto is when the cheeseburger and Jamaican patty stopped fighting and came together as one, the stuffed patty. Imagine all the goodness of burger toppings, that delicious slice of processed cheddar, and the saucy mix of mustard, mayo, and ketchup, all with a spiced beef filling inside a crispy, flaky shell. It's as delicious as it sounds, and it's as Toronto as it gets. Reminder to follow, day 11 is tomorrow. Did Toronto invent the perfect way to eat butter chicken and roti? This beautiful immigrant story is day 11 of my series eating iconic Canadian foods, and today we're at Roti Mahal, where this dish was invented. In the 1970s, a Punjabi immigrant moved to Canada and tried Caribbean-style rotis for the first time. Realizing the genius of turning this meal into one wrap, he opened Gandhi's in this very location in the mid-90s and created the Toronto-style butter chicken roti. Two of his longtime chefs bought the place and continue the tradition today under the new name. It always comes in an aluminum container and is eaten with fork and knife. The roti is stretchy but sturdy, and their butter chicken is a masterclass in balancing bright tomato, savory spices, richness from cream, and if you want it, chili heat. Remember to follow, day 12 is tomorrow. This might be the most controversial Canadian food, and it all comes down to whether you like sweet meat. It's day 12 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, and today we got a Halifax doner from College Falafel, a Toronto gem that's been run by the sweetest Albanian couple for 24 years. The Halifax doner was invented by a Greek Canadian in the 70s as a play on the gyro, but more suited to the local palate. Instead of lamb, he used beef. The bread is Lebanese pita, not Greek, and most controversially, tzatziki was replaced by a sweet, evaporated milk sauce. I got a classic with just tomatoes, onions, meat, and sauce, and this thing was quite hefty. It's not my favorite meat and pita situation in the world, but when made right like it is here, it's surprisingly balanced. The sweet sauce is offset by strongly spiced beef with a cayenne kick. The tomato adds freshness, and the red onion is sharp. Remember to follow, day 13 is tomorrow. Did you know Toronto was once the pork capital of the world? Today on day 13 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, we got the historic pea-meal bacon sandwich at St. Lawrence Market from Carousel Bakery. Co-owner Robert told me that Toronto got its Hogtown nickname because of an 1800s British immigrant named William Davies, who started by selling cured hams at St. Lawrence Market before growing the business into a pork processing and exporting empire. To further preserve the cured pork loin going overseas, his company developed the practice of rolling the meat in powdered yellow peas, hence pea meal. Today, cornmeal is actually used instead, and the meat is griddled then loaded onto a soft bun to make the famous sandwich. I enjoy the pea meal. It's thick and it has a strong, sweet, salty flavor profile with some texture from griddling and the cornmeal. But what makes the sandwich work is the addition of maple mustard, which keeps it from being too dry and adds a depth of flavor along with a kick of horseradish. Remember to follow, day 14 is tomorrow. Should America thank Canada for the California roll? Let me explain. This is day 14 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, and today I went to Sushi on Bloor, an OG value spot in Toronto that, like many across Canada, have the California roll as the first item on their roll menu. Turns out, a now famous Vancouver sushi chef, Hidekazu Tojo, claims he created the roll in the 70s for locals that were still squeamish about raw fish. Instead, it features cooked crab, avocado, and cucumber. It's also served as an uramaki, which flips traditional Japanese rolls. Rice is on the outside while the nori or seaweed is hidden inside. Some chefs in LA also claim the California roll, but one that is undeniably Canadian is the BC roll. This refers to British Columbia and features barbecued salmon skin. Seriously underrated. Remember to follow for more Canadian food stories. I ate Windsor-style pizza for the first time ever today on day 15 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods. We're at Ambassador Pizza in Toronto, probably one of the only spots in the country outside of Windsor, Ontario, to make this fascinating pizza. It was invented in the 1960s by a Windsor spot called Volcano Pizzeria, famous for delivering in branded Volkswagen Beetles. It starts with a cornmeal crust and a simple sauce, on top of which you add julienne pepperoni, canned mushrooms, and a specific mozzarella called galati. It's pretty tasty. The cheese is full and fatty. The pepperoni cut ensures even distribution, though I do miss the crisp and pooled fat of the curled cups, but it's actually the mushroom that makes it for me. It brings necessary moisture and creates this very savory flavor profile. We also tried another popular combo which takes that original recipe and adds bacon and green peppers and washed it all down with Verner's, a ginger ale that's apparently beloved in Windsor. Remember to follow for more Canadian food stories. Did you know Toronto invented sushi pizza? Let me explain. It's day 16 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, and we're at Nami, open since 1984 with very traditional Japanese design and food. But in the 90s, one employee, Chef Osada, took leftover sushi rice and experimented with a staff meal that became the original sushi pizza. The final recipe starts with a round of crispy fried sushi rice topped with wasabi soy marinated salmon sashimi, tobiko or flying fish roe, and scallions. There's also white onions and a spicy mayo hiding in this elegant dish. Hundreds of spots have made their own versions, but this is still my favorite sushi pizza. Their rice is impeccably seasoned and fried, the salmon is beautifully marinated, and the dish doesn't depend on being drenched in sauce for its flavor. Remember to follow for more Canadian food stories. Most Canadians have no idea that maple syrup is indigenous. Let's decolonize today on day 17 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods. Most think of Quebec and sugar shacks when it comes to maple syrup because we are never taught that for thousands of years, indigenous peoples across the northeast of this continent, like the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee, have tapped maple trees to produce maple sap, syrup, and sugar long before they taught European settlers how to do the same. I myself learned this only a year ago when it was acknowledged during a demo of traditional maple syrup production. From my reading, many indigenous communities share similar stories of observing squirrels licking maple trees and learning to extract the sap themselves. The water in the sap would freeze overnight and once skimmed, left a more concentrated product. That was then further reduced using various techniques from pot boiling to heated stones. I encourage you to read more about this before your next pancake and maple syrup breakfast, which is phenomenally done here at Emma's Country Kitchen in Toronto. Montrealers tell me this is how you do smoked meat right. It's day 18 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, and today we're at Dave's Genuine Deli. Think OG Jewish deli menu in a swanky Toronto food hall. Start with a half-pound Montreal smoked meat sandwich. Medium fat, cut to order. On rye with yellow mustard, that's it. It comes with a pickle, and as suggested by Montrealers, I also got fries and a black cherry soda. This is a phenomenal smoked meat sandwich. The meat is incredibly tender and flavorful with pops of savory spice. The fries have the exterior and interior texture on lock at a great salt level. The juicy pickle is like a palate cleanser, and the cherry cola almost like a very tasty digestive. Remember to follow for day 19 tomorrow. This $60 cocktail in Toronto can feed families. It's day 19 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods, and today we're trying the supersized Caesar from Score on King. The Caesar is Canada's response to the Bloody Mary and was invented in Calgary in the late 60s. It's become a tradition to stack it with snacks, but here they take it to the literal next level. I saw whipped cream starting to melt, so I got a quick bite of this fudgy, rich brownie before diving into all the comfort food. This hot dog loaded with pulled pork, mac and cheese, and barbecue sauce was actually delicious, every component. The onion rings are some of the best I've ever had. I was really expecting this to be stunt food, but from the hot wings to a juicy, crunchy pulled pork slider to the nicely caramelized burger on a well-toasted brioche, there were no misses. I didn't even realize there would be a whole Cornish hen waiting for me at the end. But finally, we got to the Caesar itself. A lick of the celery salt rim, a sip of the spiked tomato vodka drink, and a bite of pickle, a classic Canadian experience, though I prefer my Caesars a little more savory and spicy. Remember to follow for tomorrow's final episode in the Canadian food series. This is one of Toronto's only spots for hot Quebecois meat pies. We've finally made it to day 20 of my series trying iconic Canadian foods. And today we're at Charmin's Proper Pies, where I call to pre-order tourtière, a traditional Christmas dish for many French Canadians. It's absolutely stuffed with minced pork, plus oats, celery, and delicate herbs and spices. But the pastry was my favorite part, flaky and rich in a way only lard can achieve. The filling was well cooked, but I honestly enjoyed it more with some added salt and hot sauce back home. I also tried their sausage roll, where once again it was that flaky pastry that stood out. Stay tuned for an upcoming series recap, and let me know, is there a Canadian food I missed over the past 20 days?